Anyway, welcome to the FEI Long Island Chapter October meeting. I'm Vincent DeVito, the chapter president. FEI is a nationwide organization with over 11,000 members dedicating to helping CFOs, controllers, and other financial executives. FEI provides many benefits to its members, including hosting world-class conferences and events, influencing policy at the highest levels at the SEC, PCAOB, and the FASB, providing electronically available research on emerging issues and current issues, providing online education, including CPE benefits, publishing the award-winning Financial Executive magazine, providing a career center, resume bank, and job center for all levels of financial executives, and providing discount programs for cars, hotels, and more. The Long Island chapter of FEI hosts 3 events on a monthly basis. There are large educational events, such as today's, with compelling speakers or panel discussions and networking opportunities open to members and non-members. Our next event is on the New York State estate tax on Wednesday, November 19th at 8 a.m. at the Variety Child Learning Center in Syosset. We also hold a CFO roundtable, which is usually the second Tuesday of each month. The next such event will be on November 11th. These are held at Abrams Fensterman's office in Lake Success, and Neil hosts that. These are confidential issue sharing and networking exclusively for members and other financial executives. We think it's a key important differentiator for this group. It's kind of like free consulting, if you will. CFO roundtables for public companies is the 3rd event that we hold monthly. These are generally held at the BDO offices in the Savaro building in Melville. The next meeting will be Tuesday, October 28th. The topic will be a gap update, including revenue recognition. I'd like to thank our growing list of sponsors: BDO, Robert Half, Abrams Fensterman, Paychex, Red 3 Consulting, and Trintech. Today's topic is one that's pretty interesting for us and keeps some or all of us up a little bit at night, fraud. And here to moderate that topic is Drew Crescenzo. Drew is the Treasurer and Controller of United Metro Energy Corp.
Good morning, everyone. Today we have a panel of 3 different panelists. Our first panelist is, we have 2 representatives from the insurance side, and we have Tom Terranova from BDO. We'll give you a little about their bios, and this will get a pretty open type discussion. If something comes up, you have a question as the presenters are going through, feel free to just raise your hand and ask the question. Tom Terranova is a CPA, CFE, and CFF. Tom has more than 10 years of professional experience investigating allegations of fraud and abuse, providing guidance and advice to counsel and accountants' liability and securities litigation matters, evaluating complex contractual arrangements, analyzing and calculating economic damages, and providing insurance claim services. Tom has 5 years of professional experience as an auditor for BDO. Tom is a CPA, a certified fraud examiner, and certified in financial forensic. Tom has performed fraud investigations into allegations of unauthorized wire transfers, inappropriate use of company funds for personal benefit by the chief executive officers, inventory theft schemes, and fraudulent financial reporting. Tom's insurance claims experience involves business interruption losses and fidelity claims. I'll introduce the other 2 speakers, and then Tom will present first. Bob Larsen. Bob is the director of the Fidelity Crime Division of Great American Insurance Group. He specialized in commercial crime and fidelity bond area for the insurance company. He joined Great American in 2007, and he's been in financial services since 1985. Prior to Great American, Robert was the vice president of Willis in the executive risk management department, specializing in commercial crime and the fidelity bond area. Prior to Willis, he was at Travelers Insurance Company, serving as the account manager in the financial services department. He was responsible for underwriting large financial institution money center accounts. Before that, he was the home office Regional Underwriting Manager at National Union, working in the Financial Services Department on large multinational accounts, concentrating on professional liability lines and fidelity bonds. Early in his career, Robert worked in the Treasury Department at Merrill Lynch and spent over 4 years in the Insurance and Risk Management Department, with the primary focus on professional liability and financial institution bonds. Our last speaker is Steve Navas. Steve's the Vice President of Sales of Property and Casualty Insurance at Insight Insurance Companies on Long Island. Steve Navas is Vice President specializing in property casualty insurance. As an independent agent, Steve has 24 years in developing customized insurance programs and has access to a wide variety of insurance companies and their products. Steve was an underwriter for both CNA Insurance and AIG prior to becoming an independent broker. Steve puts together customized programs exclusive to the industry in the New York metro area. Steve graduated from Binghamton University School of Management with a BS in Administration. Steve's involved with providing companies with various different wide portfolio of insurance products. Okay, at this time, we'll turn it over to Tom.
Thank you, Andrew. Good morning, everyone. Okay, my name is Tom Terranova. I am a director with BDO Consulting. And today, I'm going to talk to you about fraud. I'm going to give you a fraud overview, and we'll walk through a couple of examples that hopefully will help raise fraud awareness. Here's the agenda for the next 20 or 25 minutes or so. First, I'll briefly define forensic accounting. Then I'll get into a brief discussion on fraud. What is it? What does it look like? The next item, we'll talk about what's commonly referred to as the fraud triangle. What ingredients do you need to be present for fraud to occur? Then we'll talk about how do you detect fraud, and point out a couple of red flags that are commonly seen in fraud cases. Next item, what do you do if your organization becomes a victim of fraud? Do you even know what to do? Who do you call? So we'll walk through that. I'll walk through 2 examples of fraud, and then we'll get into some best practices for fraud prevention. Even though fraud, the risk of fraud can never be mitigated or completely eliminated, I should say, there are some steps that you can take to help reduce your risk for fraud happening at your organization. And then lastly, I will briefly talk about BDO Consulting and what we do to assist organizations that may have become a victim of fraud. We hear this, all the time. We hear, auditors should be skeptical, be more skeptical, show professional skepticism. But that also applies to management. Nobody knows your business better than you. If something doesn't make sense or something doesn't look right, take a deeper look. You might find something. I recently saw this at an audit client where one of the bank account reconciliations had a very small unreconciling item. It was carried for a while, and eventually started getting larger and larger. And so the company took a look, and they found one of the things that they found was that one of the employees was transferring money from a company bank account to their own personal account. So these things do happen.
Well, good morning. Now that Tom has scared the bejesus out of you, I'm going to try to do some more for you. Basically, I'm just going to go over what we can do to help you mitigate your risk. Why are we here? Organizations lose about 5% of their annual revenue to fraud. Projected total global fraud loss is going to be more than $3.7 trillion. That's about 6.6 million per minute. That's from the 2014 annual report to the nations on occupational fraud and abuse. Globally, 58% of the perpetrators are management level or higher. And I pulled this number out just for you people this morning. 17.4% of the losses come from the accounting department. That's the largest percentage. Now, commercial crime, what we're looking to cover is the dishonest act of the employees of the insurer. The assets that we're looking to protect is going to be your cash, your pension plan, and the business property of the insured. What does your organization do? I do my research, I go online, I try to figure out what you guys do. But if you can give us an idea when the information comes in, that's helpful to us. And as we go forward, Tom kept bringing up CPA audits, internal audits. That's important to us. Obviously, we want to see how the company is doing financially, and are you taking the audit serious by looking at the recommendations of the CPA. Again, Tom brought up with the full-time, do you have a full-time staff auditor? That would be nice. Obviously, some companies can't afford to have an internal audit, but is somebody else looking at the financials, looking what's going on within a company? How are the internal audits done? Are they done on a surprise basis or annual? Obviously, if it's done on a surprise basis, that's going to keep your employees more on their toes.
Okay. Steve Navas, Insight Companies. I'm an insurance broker. So basically what I do is risk management services and I sell coverages. So what Robert was talking about was coverages that you need. And it seems very scary, very long as far as everything they're going to ask and want. But basically the process is your insurance broker should talk to you at least on an annual basis of what your needs are. And if you're a CFO, a controller, and an owner of a company, you want to know you can sleep at night knowing everything's not going to be perfect. If I have a claim, I'm going to have some type of coverage. So if you have Thomas handling your consulting and you have an insurance process coverage in place, you should know that my assets are protected. And it's a very simple process where whether you have a current broker or you're looking for a broker, somebody should sit down with you and go over what your exposures are. The discovery process is a half-hour, 45-minute discussion. You get an application that Robert went through, and again, it's not as long as it thinks. It's very checks, yes and no. The broker then reviews that with you. We do a risk assessment, then we send it to the underwriter, who then does further risk assessment, develops recommendations, gives you pricing, then you bind coverage. What I can just tell you is if you are a controller or CFO and you're handling insurance products, if you don't have a separate crime policy or an excess crime policy, you definitely don't have the right coverage and limits that you need. Standard insurance gives you limited crime coverage, very small limits, and gives you employee dishonesty coverage. If you go outside and get a separate policy, it will list, the 5 mandatory or 10 different type of coverages with different limits and deductibles, and it will offer you a program where you're going to be able to sleep at night.